Our next recipient, another person who's very special to me. Charlie is our foundation board. He's been serving that in a role in that for a long time now, great capacity. He was a standout baseball and football player at EMCC in 1969 and 70, long before he served on any of these boards. He went into the College Sports Hall of Fame in 2011. He is an active member of the MCC Alumni Association, and again, I mentioned he's the president of the Development Foundation's Board of Directors. He was voted Mr. EMJC and Most Friendly in 1970. He's also served as the vice president of sophomore class. During his sophomore year, he met Miss Margie Briggs, who also attended EMJC. He married her in his junior year at Mississippi State University, where he earned his bachelor's degree in political science. He later went on to work with a friend, Don Davis, at Electric Motor Sales and Service in Columbus, where he just recently retired in 2020 after 44 years of service. He and Margie Studdard have 3 children and 6 grandchildren. It's very special to us from a foundation standpoint. At this time, I'd like to present Mr. Charlie Studdard, our 2020 Distinguished Service Member.
First of all, I'd like to thank Dr. Brooks and this wonderful institution for honoring me as the 2020 recipient of this award. I'm absolutely humbled and totally overwhelmed for being recognized. I would also like to congratulate the other 3 awards recipients who are being honored here today as they're most deserving. It's an honor to have my name even mentioned with theirs. In addition, I'd like to thank Marcus, Gina, and Christine for the work that they've done, the wonderful job that they've done in planning and presenting this event as a part of our 2021 homecoming celebration here at EMCC. And then further, I would like to thank John Baker and his staff here at the cafeteria for this wonderful meal and all the work they did in setting up the cafeteria for this event. And all you other volunteers, thank you very much. It's truly an honor to have served, as Marcus said, on the Bull Sullivan Memorial Committee, which is the special events fundraising arm of the EMCC Development Foundation Board, with people like Dr. Tommy Davis, Bill Butler, Buddy Faulkner, Mr. Ike Hopper, my close friend and former teammate here, Johnny Fisher. The presence and the accomplishments here that these people have and had are unbelievable, as they cast a much longer shadow than me. And they're legendary figures in our history. I would also want to offer very special thanks to Nick Clark for asking me to serve on that Bull Sullivan Committee and ultimately the EMCC Foundation Board. Nick deserves our gratitude. The job that he did during his tenure with the Foundation Board and the broad base of supporters he recruited and the foundation that he helped build. When I enrolled at EMJC in the fall semester of 1968, it didn't take me long to recognize and experience the feeling of family here on this campus. I think that's what makes the community college experience so great. It really is about community. It really is about family. My instructors, like Dr. Conrad Dingshell, could rattle off lectures in his Western Civ class with lightning speed. But when I would see him on campus, he would always take time to stop and talk to me, and just created a wonderful relationship with him. And even though he was a chemistry teacher at the time, and I was not one of his students because I was definitely not chemistry class material, Dr. Cloyce Cheatham, when he took time away from his teaching job here at EMJC to pursue his doctoral degree at Mississippi State, which is where I transferred after my sophomore year here, I would meet him at the Student Union Building on campus at Mississippi State at 8 o'clock before my first class, 2 or 3 days a week, and have coffee with him and just chat. Now, that's why EMJC is such an important part of my life. It just felt like family here. Speaking of family, I'd like to recognize part of my family who are here. If you'll just raise your hand, I'd like for everybody to see how much better looking you are than I am. We grew up, and I use that phrase very lightly because I'm not so sure when that happened with me. And I'm not so sure that there are days now that I'm grown up. But when I grew up in a very close family, and my dad was probably the most influential person in my life. He liked to discipline with life lessons. Now he understood corporal punishment, and I participated in that activity several times. But I'll give you an example, and I love the example of your dad in the garden. I hated the garden, and love it now. I don't understand what the turnaround was, but at any rate, we were playing homes my sophomore year here in Goodland, Mississippi, and I scored my first touchdown there, and I made an acrobatic, I thought, a sensational catch right at the last play of the first half. And we went ahead 7-0 on the look-in pass at the goal line. Now that's not a very comfortable route to run if you're a wide receiver because you know you're going to get hit. It's just a matter of how hard and which direction it's coming from. But anyway, I made this catch and we went up 7-0. Unfortunately, that was the only ball game we lost that year. We lost 10-7. Somehow or another, on the way up, as we got ready to get on the bus, I rode home back to Goodland, or back to Scooba from Goodland with my dad who lived in Columbus. And so it was kind of out of the way for him to do that. And so we're riding along there, and we've gone 30, 40 miles. Dad hadn't said anything about that fabulous catch that I had made. And so I reminded him that I had really made an acrobatic catch, and what do you think of it? He said, well, let me ask you something. What do they give you a scholarship for? I said, well, to play football. He said, I mean specifically. I said, well, to catch passes when they're thrown to them. He said, well, I suspect if you don't catch that pass, they'll put somebody else in there to do it. And then he said, don't ever feel like you need praise or recognition for doing what you're supposed to do. And I thought that was a horrible answer. Something I did expect, but it has stuck with me for 52 years. And I believe that. And that was the life lesson that he taught me, among many others. But I think it came across to me, in other words, do your job. Follow through with the commitment that you made, if it's to whatever it is. When you say you're going to do something, follow through. Speaking of catches, the most important catch I ever made in my life was here when I finally convinced Margie to dump that guy she was dating and to go out with me, just give me a chance. And she did, and listen, we dated for a total of 4 months, and we've been married over 51 years. And I don't know how I managed to do that, but it was she's most important thing to me. I'm grateful that she's my life partner. And one other reward I got here. I asked a guy to come home with me, and he went home with me, and my sister dumped her boyfriend and married Rick Garner, and Rick is my brother-in-law, and I can tell you, he's the best brother-in-law that a fellow could ask for. I'd like to close with three things to remember, much as Ms. Warren did. First, for all you young people who are here today, I would encourage you to try to take advantage of every opportunity that you have. Now, each opportunity may not turn out to be a success, but you've got to try. You've got to give it a go. If you don't succeed, just like the game of football, when you get knocked down, you got to get up and try again. Don't stop. Secondly, don't be afraid to fail. If you do, don't be ashamed of it. And don't waste the experience of failure. Learn from it, because you really can't appreciate success unless you've experienced failure of some sort. Paraphrase a quote by Dr. Edward Judson: failure and success go together. If you've succeeded without failure, it's because others before you have failed. If you failed without succeeding, it is that others after you may succeed. And lastly, I would encourage you to take the time to lend a helping hand to somebody along your way. I've had numerous people help me along my journey, some in small but meaningful ways, and others in more significant ways. EMCC provided what I needed when I needed it. Bottom line, never forget to care about people. Be kind. Be considerate. That's what our Lord instructs us to do. Thank you again for this honor. I'm humbled, as I said, and go Lions.
You mentioned Nick, and Nick actually called yesterday.